Welcome to the LA Confidential podcast. I'm Christopher Elliott. I'm here with my son, Aaron Elliott.
Hello, everyone.
And we are in Grenada. Beautiful
Grenada.
Welcome to the islands.
Island.
Oh, I'm going to get myself counseled for saying that.
Yeah, we went from the Dutch islands to the British islands.
Yes, so they speak a little bit differently in the Dutch Caribbean. I can't even do the accent right. It's like a little bit more, Dutch.
Yeah, Papiamento.
Yeah. Now it's and I was actually talking to someone today who is from the island about the accents. They all sound very similar to me. I can't distinguish between someone who's Jamaican and someone who's Grenadian. We left off last week in Curacao.
Corso.
Yeah, and we were staying at a place called Sandals, which is, we're going to bookend this because we're staying at another Sandals now.
Yeah.
So we should talk a little bit about Sandals. But first, this week's question, which is, in all of your travels, what is the spiciest food that you've ever eaten? We would love to know, because we are on a place today called the Spice Island. Grenada is the Spice Island. They have a lot of spices here. And we actually had a really interesting experience eating something spicy. Aaron, we had dinner at the top of the mountain at an old plantation, and they were serving us something, and they warned us about this.
Yeah, it was a spicy
hot sauce.
Spicy pickled mango sauce.
Yeah.
And it's great because,
Very sweet.
The British, they brought in all of the Indians and Africans, and the Indians brought spice.
Lots of spice.
Lots of spice.
But that wasn't the spiciest thing that we had. Is we were in Curacao, and we discovered something called
Pica. Yes. And pica is their national hot sauce. It's like a relish, but it's spicy. And it's really good. You have to go to a real Curaçaoan restaurant, though, in order to get it.
Yeah, they don't sell it like in the stores. And we had some, and they warned us about it too. They said just a little bit, and of course we, being stupid Americans, we just pile it on our food and Okay, anyway, so spiciest food that you've ever had, please, the comments are open. Please let us know what the spiciest food you've ever had in your travels. And if you can work in a little surprise bonus, because spicy is, sometimes you get surprised by it, and that's half the fun, is like, oh man, this is really hot.
I'm trying to rack my mind on, in all of our travels, what has been the spiciest meal that you've had? Now, I can think of a couple, but I don't know if that's the spiciest.
The answer in a moment. Well, let's talk about, let's start with Curacao, because that's where we left everyone hanging, and we were just checking into Sandals, Curacao. What do you think of that?
Well, Sandals, Curacao is a really interesting property because you go there and, man, they've put so much work into the landscaping. You don't even feel like you're in Curacao.
You feel like you're in Hawaii.
You feel like you're somewhere else. And it's a really interesting, unique experience. And, the things that you have to know about Sandals is, firstly, Sandals are a big deal. And then the second thing is that it's all about the food.
And it's all about romantic couples.
Well, okay,
yes.
I probably should have said that first.
No, that's okay. I'll say it. And so a father and son traveling together professionally, we were there on assignment. We're working on a story, and in this podcast, felt a little bit like a fish out of water. Mm-hmm. Now, Sandals also has another chain called Beaches, which is for families. We might have been a little bit less, I don't know, I felt like I should have brought my girlfriend. I don't even have a girlfriend, but I should have brought my girlfriend along, because it's one of those places where everything is about romance. It's an all-inclusive. So breakfast, lunch, dinner, all drinks included, which can be a great thing because you save some money, but also if you have an impulse control problem, it can also not be a very good thing.
Yeah, they have top shelf alcohol in
you're
each of these
just constantly eating and drinking.
I mean, imagine if I were an alcoholic.
Oh my gosh.
I wouldn't be able to walk out of my room.
Yes, and it's possible to actually have a vacation like that where they bring you everything to your room. Mm-hmm. I would not recommend it because there's a lot of really great things going on outside. One of the great things about Sandals was just where the outdoor facilities that they had. They had a really nice, like a canal, a channel where people were swimming and hanging out. Mm-hmm. And we actually went swimming there.
Yeah, that was really a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And, hopefully I'll be able to build up some upper body strength with the swimming.
Pump you up, like
pumping iron.
No, you did great, and the water was beautiful and clear. It's kind of this see-through water, beautiful visibility. You could see the fish. Yeah. Very, very nice. Mm-hmm. They also have an amazing pool at Sandals. I'll post some pictures. I think I've already posted some to social media. Anyway, from Sandals, and I should say that we also went into town and we, for this sustainability series, we discovered what Sandals is doing with its foundation, and they are taking some of the money that they earn and putting it back into the community, which is a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that's really interesting is you just get to see all the different ways that the Sandals Foundation is the name, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Sandals Foundation is using their money to give back to the community and work on sustainability efforts.
And I'll have more on that on Sunday in the next part of my series on sustainability. From there, we flew. Our next destination was Grenada, but we couldn't get there directly, so we flew from Curacao to Trinidad. Trinidad, yeah.
So that's our first British island.
Yeah, and
ex-British island.
We landed there, and we had gotten a room at the Holiday Inn. Mm-hmm. Can I just say I love Holiday Inns? I haven't stayed in a bad hotel yet in this series, but what I love about Holiday Inn is that it's so consistent. You go there and you know what bed you're getting, you know the soaps that they're going to be giving you, and everything looks the same. And so if you want a really consistent product.
Yeah.
Now Trinidad, we were worried that maybe we would get ourselves into trouble because there's a State Department warning. I think it's a level 3. Yeah. It ended up being fine.
Yeah. And they have a nice shuttle that goes from the airport to the Holiday Inn. Really nice. Nice property. I mean, it's just a standard Holiday Inn.
Just a standard
Holiday
Inn, yeah.
When you look at the properties in the United States, if you have a lot of experience staying in a Holiday Inn, being at this one gives you major flashbacks because it's just such a similar product. I mean, there's really very little difference.
Right down to the coffee that they serve downstairs.
Yeah. I
am not ashamed to say it, but I really like the consistency. I think I'm starting to repeat myself of the Holiday Inn, and there's just the fact that you know what you're going to be getting, and it's usually really, really good. So we were pleasantly surprised by the Holiday Inn in Trinidad by the airport. So thanks, guys. Big thumbs up to you. And from there, we flew just a short flight to Grenada.
Yeah.
And I have to say, the really neat thing about landing here is that you land, the airstrip is right next to Sandals, so you can almost see Sandals. Sure. And we landed, and what are your impressions so far?
Yeah, well, it's been really interesting. We did a tour yesterday. We checked in, our first 2 days. Those are 2 nights, rather.
Yeah, well, we went to the wrong hotel first.
We went to the wrong hotel.
Yeah.
That one was Silver Sands.
Yeah.
Which was, it had a beautiful pool. We didn't get to stay.
Did, yes.
But it was so ultra high end. I looked at the price. It was like $2,200 a night. So out of reach for most people.
But they had good welcome drinks.
They had a great welcome drink.
Yeah.
We weren't even guests there, and they gave us a welcome drink. So don't take advantage of that. But we were staying at the Spice Island. We were staying at the Spice Island Hotel, and that was a great experience. Just before we talk about the tour we did, because that was a whole experience in and of itself, I think that what we have to talk about is things that you can get on Grenada that you can't get anywhere else.
Why is it called the Spice Island?
Well, it's called the Spice Island because this was it was like #2 exporter of nutmeg and mace, which is essentially the same plant, and a bunch of other spices. So cinnamon, turmeric, ginger, all that stuff came from Grenada. A lot of it came from Grenada. And you come here, this island it's lush, and you have really anything that can grow here, because it's also a volcanic island.
Yeah.
It's a volcanic island, even though the volcano is underwater.
I've never seen a cinnamon tree. That was the first time that I saw a cinnamon tree when we went up to the national park. Mm-hmm. And you can get really close up to it and smell it, and it smells like, when in the supermarket, when just before, like right after Halloween, they start putting it all the cinnamon sticks. You can really smell that. That's what it smelled like. It smelled like Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah, gotta love that. I always remember walking into Publix and having those cinnamon brooms.
That's right. That's exactly what it smelled like. People are very proud of the fact that this is Spice Island, and they have a signature drink that they make here. Please tell me more about it.
Cocoa tea.
Yes, cocoa tea.
So here's the thing you need to know about chocolate, is that chocolate is not just a bar of some magical bean that grows in the Amazon. Cocoa can be processed in a lot of different ways. And, we've heard of cocoa powder, cacao powder. You can have cocoa pods, cocoa nibs, and also cocoa balls. Cocoa balls are essentially 100% dark chocolate that is essentially cocoa paste that is shaped into a ball. And what people do, especially in the Caribbean, is they take 3 of those balls and they boil it down and then they strain it. And they boil the cocoa balls with a bunch of other spices here, especially in the island. Nutmeg.
Like nutmeg, yeah.
Lemongrass. Cinnamon.
Yeah.
All that good stuff. Ginger. Maybe not turmeric. That's a little bit medicinal. But yes, ginger probably too. They boil it all down and you end up, after straining it, you end up with something called cocoa tea.
Right, and some people put milk in it. We had ours with almond milk.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so good.
It was wonderful.
Yes, we're going to have more.
Yes.
And the thing to know about that is that when you ask someone for cocoa tea, it takes a while to make. So
It's-
give yourself at least 15 minutes because they have to boil it and strain it.
Exactly.
It's not something that you can just throw in the microwave. It takes a little while, but well worth the wait.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So anyway, we also went on a tour of the island.
Right.
Tell us what you saw. Well, what we saw.
You're turning the tables on me. The first thing we did was we went to the fort that overlooks the main city of St. George. And you had this beautiful view from up there. It's a 17th century French fort that was then taken over by the English. Really amazing views. And you can also see the beach where the Americans landed. Aaron, I feel like we're doing the tour de invasion. We went to Panama and now we're in Grenada. Those are 2 places that our old President Ronald Reagan decided he was going to invade during the good old days.
The good old days.
Good old days.
Now I
yes.
just need to go like Iraq, Puerto Rico.
Well, we're already in Puerto Rico, so you don't have to invade there. But you know what though? I think maybe Venezuela will be next. So.
Once it's been made safe for democracy.
Well, yeah, I love that. Like, we're going to make it safe for democracy. Yeah.
Yeah.
We try to keep a low profile, keep our heads down. When people ask us where we're from, we're like, well, we're from America. Like, we're in America. I've never actually lied and said I'm from Canada, but if I got cornered somewhere and, I felt like they didn't like Americans, I would say I'm from Canada. No problem, eh? We went up to the national park then. Which is way up in the mountains, and it rains there a lot. So the rest of the island, this is not rainy season. Rainy season starts next month, maybe May or June. And so, but if you go up to the mountain, it's in the clouds and it rains all the time. So that's where everything is growing.
Absolutely.
Describe what you saw, Aaron.
Well, torrential rains,
Yes.
but on and off. And just really beautiful weather, humid, cool, in the mid-70s or in the low 20s.
No need for an AC
Celsius.
up there.
No need for AC. You have every type of plant growing, chocolate. I think they have sugarcane growing up there. You have
When you say chocolate, you
avocados.
mean like cocoa beans,
Yeah, of
right?
course, cocoa
Yes.
beans. Yeah, just chocolate bars
the
growing from
Hershey
the ground.
bars are growing out of the ground.
You have, Mr. Lint, running around. I don't know.
And then before we talk about our last hotel, which is Sandals, Grenada, I wanted to ask you about the chocolate processing plant that we saw. Really, I don't know what they call it, the chocolatier, where they literally harvest the cocoa beans right there on the property, dry them out, grind them up, and then, they age them and then they turn them into chocolate.
You know what I found so interesting about going to that chocolate factory is that, firstly, it's a bean to bar, which is great. But then the second thing is that you get to see all the different brands that this chocolate has gone under.
Yes.
Because, when you get chocolate in the United States, it goes under a bunch of brand names, but that chocolate then is then sourced from somewhere. So, for example, this particular plant,
Belmont Estates is what you're talking about.
Belmont Estates.
Mm-hmm.
This particular farm has sold its chocolate under a bunch of different names. Like, for example, Trader Joe's was one of them that I recognized. And I thought to myself, well, firstly, if you don't know, Trader Joe's probably does not own any chocolate manufacturing plants.
No.
So, of course, you'd have to expect this. But the other thing is, it's really cool to realize, like, here's something that you might be familiar with, and you find the source actually, and it's right there. And I think that that's a really cool experience.
I have been to a couple of places that process chocolate. Like we've been to a chocolatier in Paris, but they always start with the beans. And then they tell you, oh, we source these beans from Ecuador or from somewhere in Central America. Mm-hmm. These guys actually grow the cocoa beans here and make their own chocolate. They grow, harvest, ferment, and then dry the cocoa beans.
Yeah.
And then they make the chocolate right there.
Yeah, well, this is one thing, non sequitur, but having to do with sort of the French business models, is that what I've realized is that they create a false sense of diversity in their product by using a lot of different things from different places. And it's interesting because you see that with like tea, chocolate, coffee, etc. Is you have essentially a bunch of different varieties of beans, but they're probably being toasted the same way.
Yeah.
So it's one product, but they've been able to diversify into like 25 different products because they're using different beans from different countries. And like that, you can have people trying your products way longer than if you just sold one coffee or one chocolate.
We're going to get ourselves canceled for this.
Well, no, I don't know. I mean, I could be totally wrong about that. But that's the notion, like, in retrospect, that's sort of the notion I got. Because learning, for example, about tea is you really don't, it doesn't matter how many different varieties of tea. The problem is that you're going to mix it down and you're going to process it in the whatever way that Europeans do. And that's not always the best way, for tea particularly. But the same thing with coffee, is it depends on the roaster. It doesn't depend as much on the bean.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's an interesting thing. But here you get the whole process from bean to bar, and it's all one facility. You have essentially one product, maybe different types of chocolate depending on like the percentage of cocoa mass, right?
We tried the chocolate. I loved it. It was really good. We can't eat all the chocolate that they have there. They had some interesting themed chocolates, but we tried their dark chocolate that they had infused with some ginger. Loved it. It was really good. Our question of the week again is, what's the spiciest meal you've ever had while you've traveled? Please tell us your near escapes from thermonuclear disaster. I don't know. I felt sometimes eating some of these foods that I've narrowly escaped.
What is the spiciest meal you've ever had?
I was in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I was eating burritos, and there was this little bottle of sauce that said it had a skull and crossbones on it, and it was black. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I think it had it was called death pepper or something like that. And I was really trying to impress your mother, so I poured a lot of it on.
Why would you try to impress her?
Well.
All right, that's another question for another time.
Well, and I definitely, it left an impression. Oof. I remember running off to the bathroom, and nothing, no water would not help or anything like that. It was just something, it was youthful stupidity. How about you?
I think that the spiciest thing that I've ever had was in 2000. I can't remember whether it was 2019, and we were doing a family reunion in North Carolina, I believe. Yeah, no, South Carolina.
No, we're in North Carolina.
North Carolina. Okay, fine. And I remember we went to Asheville. Asheville's a little town.
Oh, I know the story.
And I remember we were walking through town. We found a little place that had hot sauces, and they had the hottest one. And they were willing to give me samples, and so I obliged. And I remember, that was a very intense experience. I don't remember exactly. It was a blocked memory partially.
Yeah, I don't remember. I remember that we all were doing crazy things, but when you're with your family, you're trying to one-up each other, and I think that's just drinking pure hot sauce is crazy.
Well, I didn't drink it. I just had a little bit, and that was a mistake because it was like Carolina Reaper.
Oh yes, of course. So moral of the story is no Carolina Reaper.
Exactly.
Quick question for you, though. If someone is listening to this podcast and they say, oh, I would like to do a Caribbean adventure like this, who would you recommend it for?
Depends on the island. I mean, I think that if you really like, and this is maybe getting too much into the details. If you like flat desert islands that you can scuba dive on and that are really good for things like kite surfing,
Bonaire,
kite surfing, windsurfing, things like that. Man, the ABC Islands are great for that.
Yeah.
Because they're flat islands, the wind moves, and it's very consistent. Bonaire, I had some of the best windsurfing that I'd ever had. I mean, the wind was consistent. It was a wonderful experience. I don't know what else to say.
Well, I would say that if you're a part of a romantic couple and you're on a honeymoon or a second honeymoon, definitely consider a place like Spice Island here or Sandals. Those are really romantic places. But if you're with your family, you might want to go to
Aruba.
a more, well, I was thinking even of Lions Dive, which is more of a family dive resort. So you can go there with your whole family.
Yeah, in Curacao.
In Curacao?
That was nice.
And it's close to some good food too, like that place, that poke bowl place.
I mean,
that
it's
we
a
went to.
50-minute walk,
Oh,
but
okay. Anyway, there are plenty of options for you, but I think the Caribbean, the one thing I would say is, so with the Caribbean, rainy season starts in June, and hurricane season starts roughly in June. Sometimes you get hurricanes in May, and it runs through September. So if you want to go to the Caribbean, my advice would be to go before things get very rainy and very hurricaney, or wait until afterwards if you like security and if you want to make sure the weather is going to be stable. But you can probably find some really excellent deals, though, if you go in June, July, and August. And in August, they have these cultural festivals. Here on Grenada, they have, I think it's Carnival in August, and everyone goes. Like, they have all the Grenadians that come from the U.S. where they're living. Like, they come back here and they do Carnival.
Yeah. There's a lot to see. I mean, I remember it particularly in the ABC Islands, for example, there was a Rincon. There was a Rincon festival. And that one, I mean, I haven't been there, but supposedly that's a really big deal.
Well, we were in Rincon when it was just before it happened, we could see them setting up, and we knew it was going to be really big.
Yeah. But I think that there's a lot to see here. Just make sure you go at the right time and you're doing it for the right reason. Don't expect, I'm going to go to the Caribbean and it's going to be a wonderful tropical paradise.
Yeah.
Because that's not what's going to happen.
No.
Because it really depends on what island
If you go to the ABC Islands, it's going to be hot, but if you're looking for tropical, like humid, rainy, the ABCs. But that's one other thing is, too, if you want to avoid the hurricane season, go to the ABC Islands because they're outside the hurricane belt.
Yeah, I mean, there are other places. I mean, Panama is outside the hurricane belt.
Yeah, I mean, you can...
And Costa Rica, too.
Venezuela. Oh, I make myself laugh sometimes. Thank you so much for joining us on the LA Confidential podcast. I had a great time, and I hope you did too. And we will see you next week, which will be... We will not be in Grenada anymore. Where will we be, Aaron?
Barbados.
Barbados. That is the correct answer.
Yay.
We will see you then.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.